Someone does something for you, nothing asked for, nothing owed. Maybe they drove an hour just to sit with you. Maybe they said, "I cleared my evening. I just wanted to be near you." Maybe they looked across the room in a way that wanted nothing back. And something tightened, not with warmth, with something closer to panic. What do I owe them now? That question, immediate, familiar, not gratitude, a calculation, a search for how to make this even again. Being needed feels like solid ground. Being loved, just loved, for no reason, feels like standing over water. This is not a flaw that arrived from somewhere. Before there were words for it, something was learned. Being useful was safe. Being loved was uncertain. Help someone and they stay. Be needed and you matter. Just being there, offering nothing. That felt like a gamble no one had ever shown how to take. Alice Miller, a psychoanalyst who spent decades sitting with exactly this weight, called them the gifted ones, not because of talent, because of what they learned to do to survive. This is one of the oldest things human beings carry, and it is far from rare. Picture a child who learned to watch, not a child in obvious pain, a child who was perspective, who knew, without being told, when the mood in the room had shifted, who became quietly, expertly useful, who understood that love came when performed correctly, when good enough, helpful enough, undemanding enough. Miller spent decades sitting with these children as adults. She called them gifted, not because of talent, but because of attunement. They had developed an extraordinary sensitivity to what others needed. What they had lost, slowly and without noticing, was access to what they themselves needed. She eventually recognized this weight in her own history. In her 50s, decades into her career, she began to paint, something she had never allowed herself before. What emerged on those canvases stopped her. Grief, rage, feelings that had been redirected for so long toward understanding everyone else that she had never once turned toward herself. The child who suppresses their own feelings to meet the needs of a parent becomes an adult who no longer knows what their own feelings are. Not because the feelings disappeared, because they learned to work around them so completely that the needs became background noise. And the world often confirms this arrangement. It rewards the one who shows up, the one who solves things, the one who can always be counted on in many rooms, at many points in a life. Being valued for what one provides wasn't a misreading of the world. It was accurate. The armor wasn't wrong. It worked. But here is what the armor cannot answer. What happens when someone arrives who isn't keeping score? In Tolstoy's novella The Death of Ivan Ilyich, a powerful magistrate is dying. His colleagues are uncomfortable. His wife is resentful. Everyone around him performs care while privately calculating what his death means for them. Everyone except one person. Gerasim is the peasant servant, young, simple, strong. He empties Ivan's bedpan without disgust. He holds Ivan's legs for hours because it eases the pain. He doesn't need Ivan to be okay for his own comfort. He doesn't pretend the dying isn't happening. And Ivan, surrounded by people his entire life, feels, for the first time, something like not being alone. But Tolstoy doesn't let you look away from what happens next. Ivan doesn't know how to accept it. He keeps apologizing. He keeps explaining. He reaches for ways to make Gerasim's care earned, to restore the familiar shape of exchange, because unconditional love love that calculates nothing and asks nothing back, is the most disorienting thing Ivan has ever encountered. He has no place for it. His whole life, he built himself around being respectable, being useful, being the right kind of person. Nobody had ever just stayed. The loneliness Ivan carries at the end is not the loneliness of being alone. It is the loneliness of never having learned how to be held. I remember someone saying to me once, quietly, without any particular weight, "I don't need anything from you today. I just wanted to be near you." My first thought wasn't warmth. It was, what do I do with that? Maybe that is the real question underneath all of it. Not why love is hard to let in, but what was being protected. And is that threat still in the room? Brené Brown had spent years collecting other people's stories about shame and belonging. She had frameworks, she had language for things most people couldn't name. One afternoon, sitting with her own data, she realized she had been studying a door she was afraid to open herself. She saw that she had built her entire identity around being necessary, the researcher, the one with answers, always prepared, always useful, always the person others leaned on. She was exceptional at giving. She was also, by her own account, someone who didn't know how to simply receive. The shift wasn't a decision. It was a recognition, not a flaw discovered in herself, but something built because, at a certain point in her life, it made complete sense to build it. She was right to build it then, and it was keeping her from living now. There's no single path through this, but there are a few openings, not instructions, just doors that others have walked through before. The first is noticing. When someone offers something and the instinct moves immediately toward calculation, just see it, not to stop it, just to catch the armor announcing itself. That recognition, quiet and honest, is already movement. The second is receiving once, not transforming, not healing, just one small thing, letting someone do something and not immediately reaching to return it. The discomfort will be there. Let it be there. The muscle isn't built on ease. It's built in the staying. The third is a question worth carrying. Is this person actually keeping score? Or is there simply a waiting for them to? Because sometimes the room that shaped the armor is no longer the room where this is happening. Sometimes the person sitting across is Jerasim, learning to tell the difference. Slowly, imperfectly, is what coming home looks like. This is possible, not all at once, but possible. Someone is going to do something soon, maybe today, maybe this week. No reason, no request, and something will tighten. That tightening, it is not a flaw. It is the story how staying safe was learned in a world that didn't always make it easy. But underneath it, something has been waiting, not to be needed, just to stand here and find, slowly, that the ground holds.